Good morning, everyone. How are you? Well, Jean's good, that's what counts. It's really, really good to see you all this morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Esther. I'm one of the key leaders here at Abbey Church. I do that with Stu, Derek and Steve, and generally keep them in order and make sure things are running smoothly. And one of my responsibilities as part of being a leader here at church is leading the student and young adult community. That's something that I've done for 6-ish years, and it's something that I love doing. I love that I get to call this my job. And so I'm really excited that it's the start of a new year. We've got an academic year starting, loads of new students coming to Bristol, loads of potential. So I'm really excited for a new year, and I hope you are too. A little bit, maybe. Good. So there are two things that I'm really passionate about, things that I love in life. Well, there's obviously more than two things, but I'm not going to spend this morning talking about Daniel Craig, Leeds United, hockey, cheese, 90s pop music, although, maybe we'll do that another time. But the two things that I'm going to talk about this morning are church and the next generation. So I love the church, and that kind of feels like a little bit of a confession, but it's true. But it most definitely wasn't love at first sight. I spent most of my early teenage years falling asleep in church. When I was 18, I intentionally stuck up 2 fingers at church and walked away. And so you could say our love has been a little bit of a slow burner, I guess. And it kind of still baffles me a little bit that church is kind of my job. It's not something that I kind of expected to be doing in life. It wasn't kind of, when you do careers guidance when you're 16 years old, church leader never came up as a thing. I can't even remember what did. I'm a dentist, actually. But anyway, I love that church is my job. Like sometimes I love it and I jump out of bed and I'm ready to do it. And sometimes church is just my job. But whatever I feel, I kind of think it's irrelevant because church is my thing. It's something that is deep inside of me, and whatever I feel, I can't get rid of it. And church, in all of its bride of Christ fullness, with a mind-blowing potential to be awesome and change the world, I genuinely love it. And the second thing that I'm passionate about is the generation coming up behind me. And I'm talking about a generation that are really kind of in amongst it now. They're going through the education system, maybe they're starting work, figuring out who they are and where they fit. And they are the generation that are going to take on our world, our culture, our church, and are going to mould and shape it. And they're awesome. And they have so much potential, and I want to do everything I can do. And I want us as church to do everything we can do to make sure we're connecting with and inspiring the next generation. And as church, we want to encourage a generation that doesn't settle or compromise, that take up the baton to become radical Jesus followers and lead the church on to greater things. But here's the thing. Sometimes it's like something is a little bit broken. And church doesn't kind of seem to be hitting the mark. And we don't look like the radical bunch of Jesus followers that we read about in Acts 2 or in the New Testament part of the Bible generally. And then we get hit by these reports, studies and statistics that talk about the missing generation. This group of 18 to 30-somethings that are apparently missing in our churches. And I'm not a fan of the term the missing generation, and some of that is because, it just hurts me a bit, because I think there's a little bit of truth in it. Another reason I don't like it is because I think that it can become a kind of self-fulfilling thing. And we as churches, we can use it as a little bit of a crutch, and we look at each other, and we kind of shrug our shoulders and go, missing generation, what are we going to do? And we can find ourselves on the back foot, and I think we can become defensive and lacking in confidence, and that is not what we as followers of Jesus and church are supposed to be. And when we think about church maybe not quite hitting the mark, we sometimes feel that we need to tear everything up and start again, or we need to come up with a fancy new idea that no one else has ever thought of that's going to solve all our problems. And I remember doing something with our youth group here years ago, and we did if you could choose what church was like, what would it look like, kind of thing. And I got them to draw pictures, and church had a basketball court, it had a cinema, it was an ice cream factory and a shopping mall, and I think Manchester United played there. We all know that wouldn't happen. But it's important for church to be relevant and engaging and to connect with the culture around us. But as I've been thinking about this, I wonder if it's as much about stripping it back and keeping it simple as it is about anything else. So I'm going to throw 3 things out there now. This isn't an exhaustive list or plan, but there are 3 things that I think we need to be or do for us to fulfill our God-given potential as church, and at the same time to connect with the next generation, and all generations really, I guess. And wherever you think you are in the definition of the next generation, I want to say this is for every single person here. If you're 18 to 30, yeah, I can see you there. I might be talking about you, and over there, yeah, kind of dotted around a bit. But this is for you as well, because you have a generation of young people coming up behind you. And young people, this is for you as well. Those kids that were stood up here who were starting primary school, they're your next generation. So this is for all of us. And actually, it's really important that we use the word we when talking about church. We are the church. And if we think or talk about church as being some kind of different or separate entity from ourselves, then I think we've missed the point. Church isn't someone else's responsibility, it's ours. And when I say I think church should do this or be like that, I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking to all of us. It's we've been given church as a gift. Whether we feel like it's good, bad, ugly, indifferent, or somewhere in between all of that, we are church. So anyway, back to those 3 things that we're going to talk about. They're going to come from some verses in 1 Peter 2. It's verses 4 to 10. So the words are going to appear on the screen. So let's have a read of that now. So this is 1 Peter 2, verses 4 to 10. As you come to him, the living stone, rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. For in Scripture it says, "See, I lay a stone in Zion, a chosen and precious cornerstone, and the one who trusts in him will never be put to shame. Now to you who believe, this stone is precious. But to those who do not believe, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone that causes people to stumble, and a rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they disobey the message, which is also what they were destined for. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy." I'm just going to pray. Father God, thank you for your word. Thank you for your presence here. Pray that we will have open hearts and minds to hear what you want to say to us this morning. Holy Spirit, will you come? Will you fill this place? Will you fill us? Amen. So, the culture we all live in today, like the culture this next generation have grown up in and live in the middle of, holds up a load of stuff that it claims will change everything. It claims that money and the ability to always have the latest Apple product will change everything. Or actually, if you find the right career path and pursue promotion at any cost, that will change everything. If you can get yourself the perfect relationship, have great sex, have the highest number of friends and followers on every kind of social media, not necessarily at the same time, that is what you need to be aiming for. Like these and a whole load of other stuff are just continuously and relentlessly put out there, held up and thrown at us as the things that will change everything, the things that will make us truly happy and content and have purpose in life. And this is going to sound obvious, but as a church, we need to be holding up Jesus. So this is point number 1, Jesus. We read in verses 4 to 6 of 1 Peter 2 that Jesus is referred to the living stone and the chosen and precious cornerstone. Like in these verses, Jesus is what we, who are also called to be living stones, get built on and around to become this spiritual house. Like essentially, without Jesus, the whole thing is going to fall apart. And I think we as church, we need to be brave and we need to ask ourselves, are we built on Jesus? Like, is he the foundation of everything we do? Are we holding up Jesus for this new generation of people, both inside and outside the church, to see, like, clearly and obviously? We need to be all about creating opportunities and making it easy for people to encounter Jesus, because the truth is, an encounter with Jesus changes everything. And we see this in so many stories in the Bible when we read about Jesus and he meets people. He changes everything. And if we're a Christian, like we know this truth in our own lives, maybe we don't know where we're at with Jesus, but maybe we can see that in the people around us, how Jesus changes everything. And I think, like, a little bit weirdly, like sometimes as a church we can be just a little bit shy about Jesus. And I'm challenging myself here as much as anyone else. I think, like, whether it's in our church gathering, in small groups and pastorates, in one-to-one mentoring, whatever it is we do in our day-to-day life, like, we've got to be holding up Jesus. Like, it's got to be all about him. And I read this thing in a book recently, and you know, sometimes you read something and it just kind of like stops you short a little bit. And it really, really challenged me, so I figure when you get challenged, it's good to share that with other people, so it's not just you. So this is, what I read in a book. The quote will be on the screen. It says, ask yourself how passionate you are about the person of Jesus. Not just what he has done or does, or what he could do through you, but Jesus himself. Ask yourself whether you're growing in love for the person of Jesus, not just his miracles, or even the wonders of what he says, just him. Yeah, that's challenging. And we can get caught up trying to make church relevant. So we spend a lot of time debating what time church would start, what day it should be on, where it should be, how many people should be in the band, whether we should have instant or posh coffee. And first Sunday, posh coffee. And of course, like, all of that stuff, it is important, even the coffee bit. But we need to be all about Jesus first, before all of that stuff. Because I think people in our generation, the next generation especially maybe, are just tired of the stuff and the faff. Because there's too much of that in the culture that we live in already. Like, we want the real deal. Like, deep down inside of us, however young or old we are, there's a longing for a real day-to-day life-changing encounter with someone or something. And I see this in someone close to me. They were involved in a traumatic and life-changing experience a few years ago. And since then, they've been on this journey of trying to find meaning in life. And they've done every kind of adrenaline rush sport possible. They're travelling the world. Their Facebook page is full of quotes about chasing your dreams and not looking back and looking forward and all of that kind of stuff. And it feels like they're looking everywhere apart from at the church. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming church. It's my responsibility as much as anyone else's to be showing this person Jesus. And we're all given the choice. We've got the freedom to choose where we look for meaning in life. And we see that in verses 6 to 8. But it makes me ask, as a leader of church, are we making it easy for us to be giving people who don't know Jesus opportunities to see him and encounter him? Is that our priority? We do literally have and know someone who can change everything. Are we confident in Jesus and who he is and what he can do? And there's some verses in 2 Corinthians 3 that talk about how, because of the intimate and up-close and personal relationship we have with Jesus, that as we look at Jesus, as we actually look right in his face, that as we do that, it says, we are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory. That's verse 18. And we need to believe this, that as people see us, as they work with us, as they do life with us, different bits of church, that they see and meet Jesus. And it's really hard to get your head around because it's crazy and we know what we're like and we know all of that kind of stuff, but it says it in the Bible, so it's true. So we have to believe it and go with it. And it's an amazing, amazing truth. And there's this Catholic monk, it's a good way to start a sentence, with a name that I can't pronounce. He's a preacher to the Pope, and I heard him speak once at a conference, and he was one of those people that when you see him and hear him speak, you just want to hang out with him because he kind of oozes Jesus. That is a thing. And he was on a train one time in Italy when a woman who wasn't a Christian came up to him and said, "Your face compels me to believe." How amazing is that? He might have been wearing a monk outfit, I don't know, but he wasn't speaking or preaching, and still there was something visible in his face that someone else could see. Something that made them come up to him and say, "Your face compels me to believe." And that's Jesus. That's not just for a random monk in Italy. That's for us here in Bristol now. That, we have Jesus, that's what he does. So, first point, Jesus. It's an easy one to remember. Second one, the second thing that I think church needs to be offering is an honest community for people to be a part of. There's a real hunger and just for a sense of belonging in our society, and I see that in the hockey club that I play for. When I joined, I remember being really surprised at what people did and gave up to be a part of the club. So they spent all Saturday playing, watching, umpiring hockey. After the game, everyone goes to the pub to dissect the game and talk about what went wrong and what went well. They got together once a week for training to spend time together to get better at their game. And I quickly realised, this was church, but with sticks and a very hard ball. And our verses in 1 Peter, we see that followers of Jesus are not supposed to be individuals. They are a community. And the first part of verse 9 refers to a chosen people, not a chosen person. It talks about a royal priesthood, not a royal priest. The focus is definitely plural rather than singular. And Peter, who is writing these words, has experienced and been a part of the community that sometimes we as church today, we often look back on, maybe a bit kind of wistfully, as a great example of what things could or should be like. And these verses are pretty well known, but this is from Acts chapter 2. It's verses 44 to 47. This is talking about the first church. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favour of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who are being saved. Like this is the kind of church I want to be a part of. Like this is the church that I want to show off and offer to the generation coming up behind me. Like this kind of church, it's not a building, it's not static or fixed. It isn't for a particular group of people who look a particular kind of way. Like this church is living, it's growing, it's a dynamic movement of Jesus' people. And it offers community in a way that is so totally countercultural that people outside of it are drawn to be a part of it. And the generation of 20 to 30s are searching for somewhere to belong. And we need to be offering them a place to do life with other people, like wherever they're at with faith in God. And when church does family in this way, it transforms the people in it, it draws people in from the edge and around it, just by its very nature. And church also needs to be a place where there are no fronts and masks. Like this community that we're talking about, it's not just community, but it's an honest community. And I don't know about you, but it seems to me that the media kind of thrives off stories of broken relationships and broken promises. Like when there's a disconnect between a person's words and their actions, it's splashed all over the front pages, the internet and social media. And we're bombarded with stories of people saying one thing and doing another. And I think this is where church has an amazing opportunity to be and offer something totally different to that. And Jeff Lucas, he's written a book called Creating a Prodigal-Friendly Church. And this is what he says about the church. He says, "The church is a bride, but she is a bride still being prepared for her wedding. At times, her hair is a mess, her nails aren't done, the dress needs adjusting. Leaders are not called to be grinning icons who imply that they have arrived, but fellow travellers in the journey who help lead the way. Members will both accept one another as sinners and encourage one another as saints." And as people leading church, we need to get rid of the stuff we hide behind. We need to be honest and we need to be real. Because this is one place where leaders in our society generally fall short and we can do things differently. And church needs to be a place where there's space to be honest, where it's okay to have questions, and where saying, "I don't know what I think about that," isn't seen as a lack of faith or a sign of weakness. And I think we need to be sharing stories and life before they have a complete and nicely sewn up happy ending. Like we need to be able to celebrate the small victories, walk through the doubts and uncertainty, and stick with our family no matter what. We need to be honest and real, and so do the people in it. And it's a bit scary saying that out loud because, you know, when you say stuff out loud, you get called on it. But it might mean that things get a bit messy. But we need to offer our generation that are living in the middle of a culture that can seem full of lies and half-truths and fakes, a real and honest church community. And I think we can do that. And the Message version of 1 Peter 2, verse 9 to 10 says this: "But you are the ones chosen by God, chosen for the high calling of priestly work, chosen to be a holy people, God's instruments to do his work and speak out for him, to tell others of the night and day difference he has made for you, from nothing to something, from rejected to accepted." And my summary of that summary is we are called to be courageous church. And that is point number 3. So, courageous church. I'm just kind of buzzed through these verses in 1 Peter 2, but I'd encourage you to go away and read them because I think they're kind of full of dynamite. And those verses, they just kind of make me want to grit my teeth and go, come on, let's do this. Because it's just amazing, especially verses 9 and 10, what they say. They say, we're chosen, we're royalty, we're priests, and we're a holy people. Like, that's true, that's for all of us. That's a little bit exciting. Yep. I'm excited. And we're called not just to sit on our bums and enjoy those nice titles. Like, we're here to talk about and to do stuff for God, to tell people the crazy and huge difference God has made for us. Like those verses say, to tell others of the night and day difference He has made for you, from nothing to something, from rejected to accepted. Like, that's awesome. And I kind of feel that this has already been covered in everything else that I've said, because in my mind it goes without saying that church that is built around and holds up Jesus, that lives in honest community, like that is a courageous church. But I guess what I'm saying is that what I really want us to give the generation coming up behind us as church, I want us to give them a church with teeth. Like a church that is defined by a culture of courage. A church fueled by spirit-filled boldness. Like a church that makes us uncomfortable, rejects compromise, and relentlessly pursues more of Jesus and more of God's kingdom. And a church that isn't just about a chat, it's about getting out there and getting stuck in. Because I think this kind of courageous church is going to mobilise an army of 20-somethings and every other age person to live radically for Jesus and change the world. And it's really hard when you speak about something that is, like, I love this stuff. And I'm conscious that not everyone, loves the same stuff you do. So I don't know what you're thinking right now, thinking, that's great for you, Esther. You get paid to do that, get on with it. But I don't know, just like at the start of this new year, I want to just encourage us all that God has called us to be these things as church. We've got to be holding up Jesus, and that's obvious, but Jesus changes everything, and we can be this honest community. And I don't know if you're feeling courageous right now or not, but we can be a courageous church. Let's just kind of grab it and go for it. Because we can do that together. We're not supposed to do it on our own, but we do it together. And so I just want to encourage us to, let's pursue more this year. Let's not settle and just kind of get to the start of this year and we think, oh, well, we know what's going to happen because we're going to do the same as what we did last year. And maybe we will do some of the same as what we did last year. But Jesus can change everything. And we want to see people come into this church who don't know Jesus. We want to do that walk with them, and we'll do loads of alpha and stuff like that. But it's not just the stuff we do as church. It's how we do life when we're not sat in this school hall. And you can do it. You're amazing. I love that I can just stand and look at you all and we're totally different. It's ridiculous. But we have so much, and we have Jesus, and we can do anything with him. So, I'm probably going to stop talking. And, so let's just take a bit of time. You might, whatever you feel, have a chat with God about whatever you're feeling right now. We'll give him a bit of space, see what the Holy Spirit wants to do, and then we'll have a bit of kind of response to that. So let's just take a bit of time. So if you feel like God is saying stuff to you, just encourage you to respond to that. We all respond in different ways, but maybe there's someone sat next to you that you know that you can have a chat with. Pray with someone at the back. And I'm conscious that because church is full of people and led by flawed individuals, that church can hurt people. And if you're here and you've been hurt by church in the past, like maybe it's been really hard to hear some of the stuff I said because you've been hurt by church, and sorry for that. I mean that. But yeah, if you want someone to pray with you about that, then that would be a good thing to do. But I said kind of at the start that we are church, and just want to encourage us to not just respond individually, but respond together. So these are the slightly adapted words from 1 Peter 2, 9 and 10. So I'm gonna read this out loud, and then maybe we'll read it together. So when we ask the question, who are we? But we are a chosen people. We are a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. We are God's special possession, that we may declare the praises of him who called us out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once we were not a people, but now we are the people of God. Once we had not received mercy, but now we have received mercy. So, stand up for me. And no pressure to do this, but let's say this together. Let's make this our claiming the truth of who we are and our identity because of Jesus together. So let's say this together. But we are a chosen people. We are a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. We are God's special possession, that we may declare the praises of him who called us out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once we were not a people, but now we are the people of God. Once we had not received mercy, but now we have received mercy.